Hello and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about topics under the standard 2.1a in 3rd grade and also topics under the study island topic place value. So we're going to be talking about the place value of ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. And I suggest that when you're first starting to do these problems that you use a chart to keep everything straight. And I'll go over an example of what that looks like. And then as you get more familiar with the problems, you can look at not needing to use the chart or being able to use the chart from memory. And so as we're going through the problems, please make sure that you are taking notes so that you have those notes to look back on when you are studying and trying these problems on your own. And you can even pause the video if I go too fast and then rewind. So I'm so glad that you are joining us today, and let's go ahead and take some notes.
So in 3rd grade, we look at 4 different place values. We look at the ones place value, the tens place value, the hundreds place value, and the thousands place value. The ones place value is always the first number if you're looking right to left, which is the opposite of what you read. The 10 is second, hundreds is third, and thousands is fourth. And we can model the ones place value with a 1 cubed, which is just a little single. We can model the tens place value with a 10 stick, which looks like this. And we can model the hundreds place value with a 100 grid, which looks like this. It's just one thick. And then a thousandth is 10 of the hundreds put together in a cube. So if you see a single one, you know that represents the numbers in the 1 column. If you see a 10 stick, you know that represents the number in the tens place value. If you see a hundreds piece, that's going to represent the hundreds place value. And if you see a thousands cube, that's going to represent the thousands place value. So as we go through these problems, I'm going to have this chart pulled up. If you're just getting used to doing these problems, you can copy down the chart and use it from your notes. But keep in mind that this is not a chart that you can use on a test unless you're able to write it from memory. Which if you want to write it from memory, that's great, and I think that's awesome, and it's really going to help you. But make sure you're not totally reliant on it, that you can't do problems without it being something you look up in your notes. So this question gives us the number 9,865. And it asks us, what is the place value is the number 8 located? So if you're going to use the chart, start by copying this number into the ones column and then working to the left. So it's backwards than the way we usually write, but this ensures that we get all the numbers in the right spot. And so then it asks about the number 8. So if I look, here's my number 8, and it's in the hundreds column. So that's going to make D my answer. Now, as you are working on these, and you get more used to them, you might be able to do it without the chart by knowing that the hundreds column is the third number over from the right. So 1, 2, 3, and that's where the 8 is. So that's another way to know that your answer is the hundreds. This question here asks us what digit is the thousands place with the following number, and they give us 3,671. So I'm going to copy that number into my chart, starting with the ones and working to the left. And it asks about the thousands place, and so I look at the thousands place, and in my chart I have a 3 there, so it's going to make D my answer. Now if you've gotten used to these, you might be able to just know, okay, the thousands place is 1, 2, 3, 4 over from the right, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, that's going to be the 3. So either way will get you the correct answer. This question gives us the number 9,427 and asks what is the place value the number 2 is located in. So if you're using the chart, you're going to write this number in starting with the ones column and then working to the left. And this question asks about the number 2, and when I look in the chart, number 2 is in the tens column, so that's going to mean choice D is going to be my answer. And you can always check that because you know that the tens column is always 2 over from the right, and 1, 2, that's the 10 column, and there's a 2 there. So either way is going to get you the right answer. Like I said before, just pick the way that you can do correctly every single time without looking at your notes. This question asks us, in what place value is the number 7 located? So using the chart, I'm going to start with the ones column. So I'm starting on the right and I'm working left, opposite of what we read, to ensure that every number gets put in the proper spot. So when I look at the number 7, I see that that's in the ones column, so that's going to make D my final answer. And it makes sense because the ones column is always the first place value when you're working right, so that first one there is a 7, which is what it asked about. This next question says, Sage counted the number of marbles Mrs. Wilson had in her marble jar. She recorded it in the table below. So she has her ones column and she has her tens column, and it wants to know how many marbles did Mrs. Wilson have. So I need to count up the tallies in the tens column. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's always a group of 5 when it has the diagonal through it. 6. So that means in the tens column there is 6. And then in the ones column there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that means that this chart here represents the number 64, which is choice D, your final answer. This question here says, which of the following numbers matches the table above? So in my hundreds column, I have a 2. So I'm going to write a 2 in my hundreds column down here. In my tens column, I have a group of 5. So I'm going to put a 5 in my tens column down in my second chart. And then in the ones column, I also have a group of 5. And so that means that this tally chart here represents the number 255, which is choice C. Here we have models to represent a number, and so that's where we go back to these models that I talked about up here about which one represents each number. So it's down here, it says which model correctly shows the number 65. So if I put 65 into my chart, starting with the ones column and working to the left, I see that the 5 is in the ones column. So that means I'm going to have 5 of these 1 pieces. And then I have 6 in the tens column, so that means I'm going to need to have 6 of the 10 sticks. So if I go letter A here, if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 for the 10 sticks, so that one checks out. But when I count the ones, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 5. So my answer can't be A. So I start with letter B and I count up the 10 sticks. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 10 sticks, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the ones, which is what I needed. So my final answer here is going to be B. And just to be on the safe side, though, we can go through and check these other ones to make sure we didn't make a mistake. That's always a good strategy. So in C, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the tens column, and I needed 6. And then in letter D, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the tens column, and I needed 6. So letter D can't be the answer either. So that means I know for sure that my answer is letter B. Here they give us the blocks and they want to know what this number represents. So I have 1, 2, 3 thousandths cubes. So that means I'm going to have a 3 in the thousandths place value. I have 1 group of hundreds. So that means I'm going to have 1 in the hundreds block. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the tens block. So that means I'm going to have a 5 here. And then last I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the ones. I have 7 ones pieces, so that means I'm going to have a 7 in the ones column. So that means that this group of blocks here represents a number 3,157, which is choice A. And then here I have another group of blocks that I need to know what number they're representing. So if I look, I don't have any thousands cubes, so I'm not going to put a number there. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 hundreds cubes, so I'm going to put a 4 in the hundreds column. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 10 sticks, so I'm going to put a 5 in the tens column. And then I just have one single 1 piece, so I'm going to put a 1 in the ones column. And so this model of blocks here represents the number 451, which is choice B. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you learned something new.